Now, I've been itching to play this game ever since completing Remake back when it came out. The release of Integrate helped make the wait a lot more bearable while playing it, but of course I got hyped even more after completing it. I felt that both games really did a good job of getting most new players like myself really interested in the lore within FF7's world, and I'm sure some long-time fans were happy with how certain parts of the narrative played out. There were obviously a couple of things that I felt could be improved in Remake that was handled really well in Integrate, especially air combat and team finishes and things like that. Well, FF7 REBIRTH took those ideas and not only expanded them but added so much more to it, and I don't even know where to begin. Not only do we have more characters to play with right from the start with new side activities, but also huge areas to explore within the map. I mean, I wasn't expecting this much exploration, but this game just kept adding more and more things to do, and I was definitely okay with it. It's clear that Square Enix took all the feedback they got from the previous games and just went almost overboard with things you can do within this new entry. It's also clear that they took a lot of inspiration from other well-known games like Ghost of Tsushima or Horizon Zero Dawn, and of course Assassin's Creed. If you played any of those games before playing this, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I always ended up getting sidetracked doing almost every side activity when visiting each new area, which unfortunately got a bit too much at a certain point in the game as it felt a bit repetitive after a while. There were different types of side missions you can do based on the area, but everything else like unlocking towers and constant interruptions from certain characters each time did get annoying. But I'll save a lot of the cons for later because this game does definitely do certain things well that's worth praising, so let's get into it. Let me start off by saying that this game really conveys numerous emotions from characters very well from a narrative standpoint. There were a lot of moments that not only kept me at the edge of my seat or got me to feel sorry for certain characters, but also moments that genuinely made me laugh as well. And if that's not a sign of a good story, then I don't know what is. I made sure to familiarize myself with the narrative from the original game in order to understand certain references, and to point out areas where Rebirth expands backstories of certain characters that might not have been explored in the original. This game does a good job of fleshing out events from Remake that might have been left vague and giving it all a decent conclusion. It's just a shame that one of those stories was tied to an annoying minigame, but it kind of paid off in the end, so not a big deal. One of the things I really enjoyed about Remake was the music, and it doesn't fall short here either. Just like a lot of elements within this game, it's been taken to a whole new level. The soundtrack consists of not only reworked versions of the original, but new original music as well. I've got to give a shout out to the composers and the whole sound team in general, as they definitely did something special here that not only helped convey the emotions in a lot of heavy or light-hearted scenes, but also during intense boss fights or while exploring the map. You can tell that the whole team put a lot of love and care into making sure that various key moments that were in the original are very well highlighted in Rebirth, from how enemies are translated into the modern era or how areas were made to look a lot more alive than the original. I've also got to talk about how well each voice actor brings these characters to life. I've seen Advent Children and played other games involving some of these characters, but since playing Remake and Rebirth, I can't help but associate these voices with these characters, so shouts out to the whole cast. There's an inside series on Square Enix's YouTube channel that dives deeper into the behind the scenes of this game, so I would recommend checking it out if you're interested. I do think it's definitely worth the watch, so I'll put the link in the description anyway, just in case. There are so many features that have been added to the game. For example, instead of always finding somewhere to buy items and accessories to aid you within battle, you can use the item transmuter, which can help turn items you pick up or recover during battles into potions, ether, and other useful accessories. The more you use the transmuter to make new items, the less ingredients you'll need to make it each time afterwards, because it upgrades your craftsmanship level. I didn't use it as much as I should have, but it's still a useful feature. The weapons upgrade system has changed a lot. It's now pretty much on the same menu as the materia slots, which is convenient as you can add or remove whatever upgrades you want. And of course, as your weapons level gets higher, you can add more and more upgrades as more slots get unlocked, which is again very useful and easier to navigate. You can now create 3 separate groups within your party and swap them around before battles as long as those specific characters haven't left the party. Obviously very helpful if you need certain skill sets from certain characters. The folio system is pretty much a skill tree for each character. You unlock skills and specific moves as well as stat boosts by completing side missions or during story missions. There are so many moves for each character as well as synergy abilities, which are pretty much limit breaks performed between 2 characters. It's really incredible as each character can use these abilities together as long as you have it unlocked. Of course, with the world being more open compared to the first game, this also means a lot more side activities that you can choose to do in order to unlock various useful rewards and more skills for each character's folio. Each region you visit will have its own unique side challenges, as well as the usual ones like special battles and unlocking summons. Each enemy intel you collect during fights will unlock VR versions of that enemy and others within that specific region, which you can then battle again for more rewards. Some of these can be incredibly challenging though, even almost impossible, so it's best to get your party and their weapons to a higher level before attempting it. So yeah, although this game has incredible moments, as expected it's not perfect. So let's just get to some of the things that I felt could have been improved or abandoned completely in my opinion. This game looks and runs incredibly well, but there were some low-res textures I kept noticing during cutscenes or just traversing the map in general. It was noticeable in the previous game as well, and I thought it would be a lot better here since it's running on newer hardware, but I get it. It's still running on Unreal Engine 4, and there's only so much they can do with that, especially it being open world. It didn't really ruin my experience as the story and the gameplay made it worth it anyway. The minigames in Rebirth can be fun, but if you want to get some of the best items in a game, you have to unfortunately do them all flawlessly, which can be frustrating. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first completed some of the minigames, I thought it wasn't too bad as it's just a one-time thing that you can replay if you want to, but nah, the game kind of forces you to complete certain ones in order to upgrade each character's skill tree. And if you're going for the Platinum Trophy then, good luck with that, because not only do you have to do all the combat simulators and obviously complete the game on a harder difficulty, you have to do every single minigame at the highest level. And yes, I know it's optional, but I'm trying to get my money's worth out of this game by fully doing everything. It's just my opinion. This game had a knack for giving you one more mission after completing maybe 4 or 5 paths within that quest, and it can get annoying quickly depending on the mission of course. It happened a lot and it felt like padding at that point, and that didn't need to happen. There were more than enough to begin with. Chadley was cool in the first game, but oh my lord is he annoying here. The parts of the story that involve him doesn't bother me, but the constant calls from him after doing certain side activities are ridiculous. I wish the game would just carry on while he talks and not stop you in your tracks when he calls you, or just have him say certain bits of dialogue when you get to the first region as it's obviously new. We don't need to hear and repeat things we already know, especially once we get further into the story. Once again, I hope this gets changed in the future or just updated in general. There are a lot more things, but I don't want to come across like I didn't enjoy the game at all, but these flaws almost brought the score down drastically for me personally. But yeah, maybe I'm exaggerating, I don't know, let's just move on. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one of those games that left me feeling a bit polarized, and I'll admit some of those moments can be pointed to how I approached the game as the story progressed. Although I did talk about the minigames and certain other things which did frustrate me quite a bit, some of those things are optional, so I can't really be mad at that too much. It would have been better to put those minigames to the side and focus on the main story, because it did start to feel like I was playing a different game after a while when trying to do everything. But as soon as I got back into the story, things started to flow a lot better. Square Enix was not lying when they said that this game was over 100 hours, but I feel like that was mainly due to padding and borderline unfair difficulty spikes while doing every bit of content. I'm personally not a fan of that, but I'm sure there are a lot of others that would disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm still looking forward to everything that comes next, as I did enjoy the narrative and the characters just as much as I did in the previous game, and that's a great thing. The charm was definitely not lost here and was actually expanded very effectively. Let me know down below what you thought about the game overall and whether you agree or disagree with certain things that I might have said. And thank you so much for checking out the video if you made it this far into it, and please like and subscribe for more content in the future. Anyway, that's all I've got for now, so I'll catch you in a bit.